Hi, Joe Cerrone. Welcome to CAD 136. Today we're going to model this sofa. And so as we take a look at the drawing itself, there's actually a couple of different models. You can either model the couch according to these dimensions. It's 80 inches by 30 inches tall by 30 inches in depth. Or we can model this couch right here, which is it's got these sofa cushions on it. It's slightly different. It's got a little bit longer on the arms here, but it's pretty close to the same type of modeling techniques. And so to get this started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to download a B-size title block. And I'm going to get the architectural title block. And I'm going to open that. And so it puts us here in model space. And if we want to go and take a look at our drafting settings, we can have a snap and a grid. And I'm going to leave that snap at 1 inch. And then I'm going to make the grid 6 inches. We'll enable polar tracking, object snap tracking, and 3DO snap. Alright, so if we wanted to start off by modeling the couch from the sketch, what I would do is I would draw the front of the couch, which would be this shape right here. And that's going to be 25 inches tall, and then it's going to have a 5-inch by 6-inch by 30-inch. So we can start off by drawing a line. And I'm just going to turn on my line weights. I'm going to draw that line on layer furniture. And I'm going to make that 25 inches. And then I'm going to track to the right. Now, since 25 is not within my snappable increments, I'm going to turn off my snap. And I'll just use polar, and I'll track this 6 inches. I'll hit escape, and then I'll pick it up from the bottom, and I'll track that out 80. And we'll go up 25, 6. We'll offset the bottom 5 inches. And the side 6 inches. We'll trim. Overdid it a little bit. Let me put this back. And then what we'll do is we will draw the cushions, and those will be 6 inches, and this will be, we'll have to do a little bit of math. They'll be 6 inches by 22.5 by whatever the midpoint is for this point right here. So I'm going to make a layer called cushion. I'm going to copy it off of the furniture layer. Make it slightly different color, blue. I'll make it current. I'll offset 6 inches. I'll draw a line from the midpoint. And let's make a little bit of space between the cushions. Let's just offset that 0.5. And that might be a little too much. Let's offset that 0.25. We'll erase our construction line, trim it right down the middle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to match property my cushions. And then we're going to need a line that goes across the bottom. And so I'm just going to put another one down here like that. And then we're going to have another cushion that's 6 inches above the armrest. And so we'll offset that 6 inches. And then we will extend this line here up to here and bring this over. And so we can actually make a rectangle that will be like that. And there is a little bit of a frame post, a 1-inch square frame post, and they're saying that it's 2 inches shorter, so 1 inch short from each side in. And then they don't really give us the dimensions for this, but if this is 6 inches, we could make this 4 inches and then come down. And so I'll make one more layer, and I'll make it the frame. And then what we'll do is we'll come into the bottom here and we'll offset 1 inch. We'll put that on our frame layer. We'll draw another line and we'll offset that 1 inch. And then we'll trim. And then we'll offset that 4 inches. It looks like we'll go 5. And then we'll go down 8 inches from the bottom here. Let's trim that. We'll match that. Offset that 1 inch. Trim. And then it appears like there's a cylinder down here on the bottom. And so what we can do is we can offset 1 inch, and we'll go 1 inch to each side, and we'll fillet those with a radius of 0. Trim. And that'll be the geometry for the back of it. And we'll offset this 1 inch. And then we'll mirror this. Do a quick measurement. So that's correct. That's 8 inches. That looks good. We'll mirror the geometry for the frame about the midpoint. And then we'll start to model these different items. So I would start off with the couch, this part right here. And what we'll do is we'll press pull that 30 inches. We'll grab an isometric view. We'll get our sofa. We'll get a 3D workspace. We'll press pull. And I think what we'll do is we'll model it forward. And as I look at it, I think I need to model it backwards because of the way that I have the supports for the square frame. So I'm going to push this down and type 30. And then we'll model the cushions themselves. We'll go to the cushion layer. And we'll press pull these back. And it looks to me like we've got, we'll make this back part of the cushion 6 inches. And so what we can do is we can press pull this back down 6 inches. And then we'll move it to the back. We can delete out that rectangle, and if we look at it with the visual style, we can start to see it taking shape. So we need to model the cushions, and we'll bring those down, and I think I should have probably modeled that all the way to the back of it. And so what I'm going to do here is we're going to 3D rotate this. Well, we can put the cushions in first, and we'll make those cushions 30 minus 6, so we'll make those 24. So we'll say press pull, we'll hover, and we'll go push this down 24. We'll do it again, 24, and then what we'll do is to 3D rotate this. Whole thing about this point right here. We'll drive that up. If you can't get a polar snap like I'm not getting here, just turn on ortho and then we can just flip it. And then as far as the couch itself goes, it looks like we need to push the back in 6 inches. And so we can 3D move that. And we can just grab this rocket if I can get it, my O snaps off. And we'll move that 6. Hit escape. And we do have a little bit of a gap at the bottom of it, so we can control click on it. And we can pull that up another 6 inches. And then move the whole thing down. And that's going to shorten it, so we're going to use a regular move command. From this endpoint to that endpoint. So far so good. It's a pretty basic looking couch. We can start to add the base of it. And so as we look at these components right here for the frame, what we can do is we can extrude this 30 inches and maybe we'll take it back 29 inches. And so we can press pull this. And if you can't get it, then just put another rectangle on it. And so we're in the XY axis, and so that's what the problem is that when I 3D rotated it, we're always working in the XY axis, so we need to update that or use a dynamic UCS. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a 3-point UCS. I like to do it the old way and just put it on the front. First point is the origin where X and Y meet. Second point is positive X-axis, and the third point is positive Y. And so you can see now that we're perpendicular, and then we could possibly press pull this. Yes. And we'll push that back 29. And then we'll do this also, but we'll just go back 1 inch for that. And we'll do the same thing over here. Push it back this way, 29. And then we'll grab this and just go 1 inch like that. And then for these areas down here, I'd probably put in a cylinder, but the cylinder is going to come in the wrong orientation. It's going to come in like this. And if we want it to come in flat into the bottom, then we would need to either reorientate the UCS or change that around in some ways. And so it's not too hard to do. What we can do is we can say UCS, and then we can say P for previous. And now, and it didn't do it because my XY axis is still there. Let's see. No. So we could say UCS, and then we could just go to the world, which should be, yeah, backwards flat. And then what I can do here is I can make a cylinder at that midpoint. And we'll just go out to like that, and we'll go to this endpoint. And then we'll just copy that to the other side. And so we'll say copy. And we'll go from this point here, it's kind of like a hockey puck, to that point there. And then from a standpoint of modeling the back of the cushion, we could probably put a fillet from the solids where we fillet the edge. And if we have 6 inches, we could probably fillet this whole thing here. And it's going to want to fillet it kind of to the side. Let's see how we're going to get that. What we would have to do is to fillet this edge right here. And so what we would do is we'd say fillet edge, down arrow, radius 6, and we might want to make it 5 so we have a little bit of cushion left, and so we'll go with 5 and see how that looks. And then we'll grab this edge and we'll hit enter and enter again, and that looks pretty darn close. All we really need to do now is to put the feet on the back, and we can do that by copying these components. It looks like I'm a little off on the center of that on both of these. If we go to a wireframe, what we can do is we can move this from the center to like a midpoint. And so if I say color red, and then I draw a line, turn off my ortho, we can then move the cylinder from the center to that midpoint, and that will then square that up, delete out the geometry, and we can do the same on this side. Just draw a line from endpoint to endpoint. Whoops. Move the cylinder from the center to the midpoint. Clean it up. And then we'll copy this whole thing to the back and put it on the back. So we'll say copy, and we'll grab all of this, hit enter, and we want to grab the back corner right here and put it on the back corner right here, and then hit escape, and we'll do the same on this side where we'll say copy, and we'll take the back corner to the back corner. You can union these together so that they're all fused, and so we can say union, and now that's all one piece. And we'll do the same thing to this side. verify it by using conceptual. And then if we want to, we can see our couch. You know, you could put the frame all the way across the bottom if you wanted to. I'm just going to leave it at this point. It's not going to show. And then if we wanted to, you can soften up the edges a little bit with some additional fillets. And so we could come back in here. Let's save it. And then we could go ahead and add some more fillets under solid. And we could say fillet edge. And I would fillet the edges of the, I would probably put a nice soft radius on here. And I would say, let's go with 4 inches on that. And we'll do the same over here. Notice how it's red because that was the color that I overrode, and so it will mark those surfaces with that color. So I'm going to undo that, and then I'm going to go back to my color and make it by layer, and then we can fillet those with a 4-inch radius. Hit enter twice. And I think that looks good. We don't need this geometry. And so as we clean up the sketch images, you want to be careful not to erase your model. I'll come back for that one. And it always works in wireframe. So if it's difficult to work on, just go to wireframe and you can then delete out that geometry and then view it again in conceptual. And I would probably look at putting some radii on the cushions themselves, and let's just put a 2-inch fillet on those. And so if we say fillet radius 2, not sure if I'm going to be able to get that one. Let's just hit enter a couple times. And you can see that the fillet didn't quite work out in that last spot, so I'm going to undo that. And then what I can do is I can turn off the layer that I have here. And so this is on layer furniture. And so if I say layer and I turn off my furniture layer, then I can work on the cushions. And so we'll go fillet edge, radius 2, and then we'll radius these. That looks good. Yeah, I like it that way. I don't need to get the back edges for it. I think that will look fine. And so we'll create these fillets here. And then we'll turn back on our layer. And I think that's it. That completes our couch. Let's put it onto our layout. We'll double click in the viewport. Z for zoom, A for all. We'll bring up an isometric view of that. Show menu bar, view, 3D views, southeast isometric, view, visual style, shaded with edges. Let's see how it looks with conceptual. I think I'll leave it with the conceptual view. I'll lock the viewport. I'm not dialing in a scale for it, and so I'll just lock it. Student name. We're in the 136 class. Be sure to put the date on it. Alrighty. Save the file. And that completes our video tutorial on how to model the couch.